In 60 seconds, I was sharing bits of my testimony, living in a tent, homeless on the beach when I was 15, getting diagnosed with a brain tumor, ending up, on a downward spiral of drugs, going to jail, my case getting dismissed after I'd given my life to the Lord. And so I was giving people kind of like bite size, coming in going, this is what God did for me in the hardest moments of my life, and what he's done for me, he'll do for you too. And people just began reaching out, can we read more about this story? And I always knew that I would write a book, but I wanted to wait on the Lord's timing. And I knew during that time in the pandemic, I knew now was the time to just be able to expand on the story and share the things that you can't go into online with all of the details and walk people through that journey. The scriptures tell us that we've overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so I believe that when people hear the word of our testimony, people will turn their lives to the Lord, and they'll have hope for themselves in their own lives.
And let me say this, that God has given you an incredible testimony, and you hit on some of the I wouldn't say the high points, I guess you could say some of the low points, which God actually used, or God has now shown his faithfulness and brought you out of. And we give God the glory for that.
Yes.
But you've been given a testimony. I've been given a testimony. Everybody listening to our conversation today has a testimony. And for those that might feel a little bit apprehensive about sharing their faith, well, that testimony gives us the perfect avenue through which we can share about the goodness of God and what Jesus has done in our lives. So I think we can encourage our listeners today to really just be bold to share what God has done in their lives.
You never know what somebody's going through.
Yeah.
And people, one thing that I found, and I've met so many people, is that people can, we saw that during the pandemic. People can wear a mask, and maybe they have to go through life and mask their hurt or the pain that they're going through. But the moment you start sharing what God has done for you, it's not about us, Bob. It's about him. And it's about his presence. When we share our testimony, he comes and does in people's hearts what we cannot do. And that's what brings change. And so to your listeners and anybody that's listening right now, if God has given everybody a testimony, and he's given you a testimony to be able to testify of who he is and what he's done in your life. So I just say be bold, step out in faith, because the scriptures say that the just will live by faith. And sometimes we just have to get out of the boat, get out of the water. And I believe one of the greatest rewards on the other side of meeting Jesus is being able to share everything he's done for us.
Well, the last time we had the opportunity to talk, you shared about and you referred to it just a few minutes ago, the situation involving being sentenced to prison, and you didn't serve a day.
No, I just went to jail.
Okay.
I was, I went to county jail, and right when I had gone for sentencing, my lawyer was like, you're going to do some time in county. And I was like, I can't go back. And he was like, no, you're going to do some time in county.
Boy.
And I'm like, and it was the first time I had heard, in my spirit, the still small voice of God. And in faith, I stepped out to talk to the DA. And I said, long story short, I share more of the details in my book, Bob, but I go up to the DA and I'm like, I'm not the person that was in that car September 2nd. And I know you get a lot of people that come in here every day telling you that God has changed them, but really Jesus Christ has changed my life. And I'm deeply sorry. And he's like, we all make mistakes sometimes. Have a great day.
That was encouraging.
Of course, my stomach, my heart falls in my stomach. And this was my moment of true surrender, Bob, because I probably thought I surrendered up until that moment, but it wasn't until I walked back into the courtroom where I was like, God, I'm asking you to take care of my son, because my son was very young at the time. He was a baby. And I'll preach in jail and I'll share with everybody about you in jail. And so I'm like ready for the bailiff to come and put your hands behind your back and take me to jail. And my attorney walks up to me and he holds up a yellow piece of paper that changes the rest of my life, and it says order of dismissal. And when I looked at that, I'm a little confused. I'm like, well, what's going on? And he's like, you're free to go.